Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's beautiful Friday here at Library Sessions. Me and JGCB here. We got a great guest here, Tim Huddleston, co-owner of Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway here in Bakersfield. So Tim, thank you very much for being on the show. We appreciate it. We're going to dive into Tim, not only his racing life, but now what it's like to be a business owner of something you love so much, and that's racing, and bringing racing back to Kern County, which is awesome in Bakersfield. And we're very happy for you and Kevin. So feel free to let us know and the audience know what you're doing, what you're up to.
Oh, super thankful to be here, and I'm telling you, a lot of great stuff to come. When Kevin and I started on this project to get that racetrack out there over off of the 5 freeway, rocking full song and just doing crazy events from top to bottom. From country music to NASCAR, we're going to do it all over there. It's been a dream. It's 118 acres of some of the most prime real estate there on I-5. And Charlie Beard did an amazing job.
God, he was an amazing man, too.
What a
guy.
What a
great guy. What a man. Amazing guy.
Him, Virgie, and Rusty did an amazing job building it. Our goal is to take it to the next level and make it a world-known facility.
And there's no doubt that's going to happen. There's no doubt with your know-with-all with racing and business. And, the one thing that I love, the fact that I don't think, obviously, you're going to be getting credit, big-time credit now, because everybody knows he's just a race car driver. Now they're going to see the business hat come on.
Right.
I think that's also true for Kevin as well. Kevin, everybody goes, God, he's going to be remembered for this great racer he was. I'm like, the guy's a genius when it comes to business, right? And now you guys team up, and now you're about to, bring something really special that I think we're all looking forward to, definitely, that the town needs.
Yeah.
So
the town does need this. I mean,
absolutely.
And what you just said about bringing in all of the other items at this track, because this thing's been out there, but it hasn't been really, and no offense to anybody that was involved before, I mean, it just hasn't been as active as what you're saying your plan is. We were talking a little bit before we started the show here.
Yep.
And hearing some of the upcoming things and ideas and thoughts and future ideas are just super cool. So very excited to see this.
Absolutely. Excited for you, pal.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about what we can do there. It's going to be a motorsports mecca. We're looking to go much bigger with the events that we have there, being able to increase the seating, increase the size, and just go big on everything. But the coolest part was, the day I called Kevin and said, hey, Kevin, there's an opportunity. I think we could buy Kern County Raceway. It was literally not, what are the details? I'm in. I mean, he literally, it was like, you had me at hello.
Right.
I'm in. Let's do it. Like that fast. I didn't even, I just said, hey, there's an opportunity to buy Kern. I'm in. Like he interrupted me, right? I'm in. Like, yes. And I'm telling you, I couldn't be more thrilled than to be partners with Kevin on that place. We talk every week, multiple times a week. What about this and what about that? And we come up with all this craziness. And we hope that, we literally went, I think in 23, they had about 10 or 12 events there. We're up into the 20s for 24.
That's fantastic.
25, we're going to be in the 50s. But
a lot to look forward to.
A lot to look forward to.
And that's obviously a huge testament to yourself, and not only your racing career, but now, spinning off into the business racing world and being a co-owner of a fantastic facility. And I hope all Bakersfield, you guys need to get out there, really support this man and Kevin and what they're bringing to this town. I think is fantastic for all ages, all groups. If you love racing, if you love fun, if you love absolutely chaos, I think, Tim, you're nailing that out there, and I love that.
Well, I appreciate it. We're having fun. I feel like, somebody once told me, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
It's a true story.
I haven't worked in about 25 years.
God bless you.
Go to bed exhausted 7 days a week, but we certainly don't work for a living because we race cars, we race hard. With the last 8 years running Irwindale Speedway, it's amazing. And we love that place. And then there's been some bumps down there because we don't own the land, right? That place is, it's been tough to actually do a deal to own the land. And when the opportunity came by to be able to secure Kern County Raceway, actually before that, we thought 2 years ago, we had a pretty big scare that it was going to be the end for Irwindale Speedway. Fortunately, it's not. We're still alive, still going. Don't know when the end is yet, but we thought last year that was it. And I sat my wife and my 3 kids down at the kitchen table, And this is what we do, right? We're like a traveling circus. My
Absolutely.
kids race. When they're done racing, they're up there selling a bar. My daughter's running the concessions. My wife's doing the business
Family
side.
business.
It's everything. She's in the crowd handing out tickets, like whatever it takes. That's what we do, 24/7. And so I sat down with the kids at the table and, told the boys, hey, we might lose Irwindale. What do you want to do? Do we want to go back to, my automotive business? Do we want to buy cheeseburger restaurants? Like, what do we want to do, guys? Because this is what
We're
we
not
do.
stopping. The trend ain't stopping.
And they're like, no, we want to keep going to racing, right?
Love that.
So I started looking for racetracks, and never in my wildest dreams did I think that Kern would be an opportunity.
Right.
And Rusty and Virgie found out that I was out looking for racetracks. I was actually looking at Willow Springs, which everybody knows
Absolutely.
now it's for sale, but I knew a year ago when we were negotiating on that. And all of a sudden I get a phone call and I'm like, no way, like really? And so I went back and sat down with the family again. I said, hey guys, we got an opportunity to, literally move to Bakersfield and take over Kern County Raceway. And my two boys looked at each other and they said a few words and they got up and they walked out.
That's
I
awesome.
went, whoa, guys, what
Right. Is it unanimous or what are we doing here?
Yeah,
Right?
well, I thought they didn't. Like, you don't want to do it? Like,
Right.
fine, tell me, let's talk about it. They're like, oh, sorry, we're going to pack our stuff.
Right, that's awesome.
Because we're going
You
to
gotta-
Bakersfield,
you gotta
dude.
love it. I
Like, let's
love
go.
that.
And I was just like, oh man, like here we are, right? It doesn't
Right.
get any better than that. So, it's really been a dream come true. You
Well, I
know?
can tell you, Bakersfield's definitely thrilled to have you up here. Obviously, you and Kevin together, and going to build something so spectacular. That when I grew up, there was a racetrack in town, and it was just so much fun as a kid to be able to go to the races. I remember you'd bet your buddies a thing of bubble gum. I'm taking the 6 car. I'm taking the 8 car. I'm taking the 12. Right? You only got
That's
to pick
it.
once, and then the next round goes around. I'm glad that tradition, you're going to carry that tradition with Kevin and you guys at the track, and it's just going to be so much fun to watch that morph into something that it used to be, right? Because racing, it feels like on the West Coast is lost cause. I mean,
Yeah,
it
for
does,
sure.
right? And I
Definitely.
think what you and Kevin are doing is going to revitalize that and get people back excited again about going and doing the family thing, right? Because with sports nowadays, it's, mom's at soccer, I'm at golf, you're at tennis, this kid's at, baseball practice. You don't get that family time.
That's right.
What the racetrack does, it brings families together, which is great. You can sit there with your family. You can, go to the concession stand, get some hot dogs, grab you a soft drink, go have fun. And at the end of it, the kids come home and go, that was great.
That's right.
By the way, I need more bubble gum because I lost 5 bets.
That's right.
Perfect. We'll see it next week. So
Well,
happy for you, buddy.
That's the cool part, right? And we talk a lot about, Detroit made cars. California made them cool.
That's right.
I mean, let me tell you.
That's a
hot
fact.
rodding, cruising, drag racing. It all started here in California.
That's a fact.
Right? So that's our goal, is to just make the car and the automotive culture cool. And take these kids that are growing up today. We need them to, when we grew up, the automotive car was freedom. I couldn't wait, right? I mean, remember at 16 years old, you just couldn't wait to get that
15 and
driver's
a half.
license, right?
Yeah,
You were there
chomping at the bit.
on my birthday. Well, today, I think a lot of our young kids, this phone right here is
Ruined
freedom.
it. That's right, for them.
And I'm like, hey, how's your buddy? Oh yeah, I saw him the other day. Well, did you go to his? I didn't remember you went to, yeah, no, it's on the phone. Like,
But they only have so much even freedom with the
Yes.
phone now because now you got Live 360 and you can
Everything.
track your kids. It's like when we were kids, it was like, just
I'm
be
in
home by the
car,
street
I'm
lights.
out of here.
I mean, I remember when we were kids, we would lift open the gates to go to
Yes.
a racetrack here locally in town just to get in for free to go watch because we didn't have, $1 and you weren't going to ask your parents. I just knew by the streetlights, which never quite made it always that
Right.
early, but it was still fun.
It's a
Like,
goal.
I'll
It's a
take the
goal.
whooping because I just went and got to watch
Yeah.
guys that were my heroes or you thought they were your heroes.
We got caught actually hopping the fence into Mesa Marin one time, and Marion Collins caught us. He was the guy who caught us, and he actually was the coolest guy about it. He said, hey, you know what? You guys don't be messing up my fence and don't be hopping this fence. You're going to get hurt and that kind of thing. If you guys really can't get into the race or whatever, come to the gate, have them radio me, tell them, I've talked to you before. I'll let you in, guys. Come in. Just don't be hopping my fence and doing that kind of thing. So,
Liability issues,
cool
especially
thing.
now in
Cool
California.
deal right there.
And then there was a sponsor out there, cool people, Geronco, that used to.
John Ronco, that's the name I haven't heard
yeah.
forever.
They used to have a deal where you could, they would invite big groups of people and stuff. And we got involved in one of those one time where we got in and go to the gate, say Geronco. Well, then us kids knew we just go to the gate, say Geronco, they'll let us in.
Right.
And it worked for a while. They caught on to us, but
Right.
it was. I know what you mean, but man, great times out at the racetrack. And
Yeah.
And I feel like we've been missing that. Like Mesa Marin was a cool spot. It's legendary. Kevin Harvick got started out there. You raced out there. I remember we were talking about it before the show. He was saying, I raced out there with Kevin. And I said, wait, you had the red car. And he's like, it was the
Royal Oak Charcoal number 6. Yeah. With flames coming off the quarter panel.
I was just like, man, I remember that. Tim Huddleston, running those cars around. It was just cool times. A lot of great memories out there.
I sure hope, Tim, you didn't cost me a pack of bubble gum or something.
I don't know.
Man. But it's going to cost you.
But let's be clear, when you raced with Kevin back in those days, it was pretty much just move over as he lapped you.
Watching
and he
Kevin.
came by at Mach 2 as Kevin Harvick did. But it was a lot of fun back there in those days at Mesa.
His driving style, even when he transitioned into NASCAR, just watching the style has always been something very impressive. Watching him race in Mesa Marin, we got to see that absolute pro level racer. I was lucky to get to see it as I was young and able to go to the races out there. And even when my son was young, I remember meeting him one time with my son. There was a big long line, some luncheon thing we got to go to for like a sponsorship thing that happened.
Well, the good news is we might be able to see that now at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. We might be able to see the next guy.
The new kids
coming in, showing up.
And they're going to get to meet, Kevin and those guys, but also the new guys that are the up and comers and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just really, really cool time getting to hang out there and enjoy the track.
Yeah, there's no question. That's what we want. We just want a place where people go there, they feel comfortable, they have that sense. I remember when I used to roll around that corner and you'd see Mesa Marin in the horizon and you'd get that feeling in your stomach every single time, right? I still get that to this day when I roll up to a racetrack. And that's what we want to get.
If you're not getting butterflies, you don't love it.
That's right.
You got to have passion, 100%.
That's it.
How'd you get started into racing?
That's a crazy story. 1986, our high school auto shop teacher was an old racer. He, kind of poked around with street stocks and stuff like that in the day. And
that's more my level.
That's it, right? And he took us out one night on a field trip. And he says, hey, guys, we're going to go out to Saugus Speedway. I'm looking at, trying to get back into racing. So let's go out there. So we loaded up. There was like 6 of us kids. And we went with the auto shop teacher and hung out at Saugus Speedway. And, man, it was so much fun. The end of the night, they always open the gates, right? And they let you go in and hang out and talk to the drivers. So we're walking around, us kids and our auto shop teacher, and there's this old Oldsmobile. And on the quarter panel, it said for sale. So we walked up to the guy with the auto shop teacher and was like, hey, how much you want for the car? And he said, yeah, $1,500. And we're like, 15? Oh, my God. I mean, are you kidding me? Forget it. That's might
as well be $1 million.
Yeah. And we're like, God, we don't have any money, but we got a lot of stuff. You want to trade?
Right.
He's like, what do you mean? Well, come on down to the auto shop. We got a lot of stuff because people donate stuff here all the time, right? So 3 or 4 days later, he comes down to the auto shop and he's walking around. He's like, hey, there's a 67 Buick Riviera with 425 split dual carbs on it from the factory.
Oh, that's wild.
And some old lady had donated it to the school, and we tore it apart, put it back together 20 times. He's like, man, that thing's pretty cool. I'll trade you that. Sure enough, we traded that thing straight over.
We're going racing, baby.
And we went racing, right? So we're literally 2 days before our first race car. And now we didn't have a manual that said stagger and cross and how do you make a race car go fast. We had the auto shop manual.
Right.
It said 32 pounds all the way around in the tires, right? And we bondoed it. And it was the best looking race car you could imagine for a 69 Chevelle. And the principal walks in. And he says, what's going on here? And he says, we're building this car with the kids and we're going out racing. The principal hits the roof. He's like, you cannot take these kids to a racetrack like as a school function. Oh, I remember going home that night thinking, wow, the dream's over. The next day at auto shop, the auto shop teacher pulls us all in and says, guys, hey, here, fill this out. And it was a Boy Scout application. We're like, what the heck? He goes, we're forming a Boy Scout troop. And I'm like, what?
Oh, where's this guy at right now? He's legendary.
Yes, he's like, if we have a troop and we have our meeting Saturday night at Saugus Speedway, it covers the insurance and the principal will sign off on it. I'm like, give me that thing. Never
That
got
is
a patch.
awesome.
Never made a fire. Never did any of that.
That is so cool.
But we were Boy Scout Troop 1028 at Saga Speedway. That's how it started.
That is
right
an
there.
awesome story.
That is
Wow.
fantastic. That
Yeah.
the shot is this guy still alive?
No, we lost him a year ago, man.
No
And
way.
How crazy. When we first took over Irwindale Speedway, I brought him and his wife out, and he was like 80 something. This was 5 or 6 years ago. And he just couldn't believe it, right? And I'm like, you understand that we are standing here because of my 1986 auto shop.
I mean, that
class,
man
right?
literally made an
Isn't that
impact
cool?
on your life,
for
like
sure.
a huge influence. And he didn't even realize what he was doing.
That was it.
The whole Boy Scout thing
Yes.
might be the most
Isn't that legendary?
underrated story I've
Yes.
ever heard. That is a genius way of getting kids to be like, Mom,
Yes.
Dad, I'm in a Boy Scout.
That's it.
Done.
And it
Not
was
realizing
all-
you're out there racing cars. That is fantastic.
And it was about the insurance, right? Because
Right,
we
absolutely.
had
Liability,
insurance
liability,
while we were
liability.
being a Boy Scout meeting. So,
Oh, that is
Yeah,
such a great story.
it was
What a
pretty
great
cool.
story.
yeah.
I will say that the event when Horn Day came out, I thought that was cool.
Was that cool?
I mean, here you got, your business partner, co-owner, Kevin Harvick, NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Amazing to me. Then Hornaday calls
Yeah.
me up and goes, "Hey, I'm coming out to Kevin Harvick's Raceway. What are you gonna do?" And I said, "I'll see you out there, buddy." And then for him to be out there to accept that stuff from you and your staff, I thought was so amazing. So here's 2 Hall of Famers that are a part of now your life, which you've known for several years now. But it was so cool for kids don't realize that Hornaday used to race at Saugus and Palmdale and all these tracks, and Kev was up here and the Corellis of the world and these guys that used to race this local, hour and a half from each other. And now it's right here again, folks. So honestly, get your freaking behinds out there, support this man and Kevin Harvick, and let's have fun watching racing again.
That's it.
And I got to be honest with you, we got to get a sign. I don't know what we have to do for the shop teacher, but this guy needs a sign out there, a placard or something, man.
That's it.
That is awesome. Joe, what do you got? Let's talk about the demolition. What do we got here, huh?
Well, actually, I wanted to first ask about some of your racing career. So, we talked just a minute ago. You raced out at Mesa Marin. You had some other racing. Tell us about that. Like, what's like one of the highlights, some of the top highlights of your racing career that you just look back at and say, man, that was a fun time. That was one of the most memorable races, or those kind of things.
Well, fortunate that we've got a lot of them that were pretty cool. A couple cool stories I'll tell you. Well, first one involves Kevin. We had finally, Kevin obviously went to become, the amazing, Hall of Famer Kevin Harvick, and we soon to be, because he will, right?
Oh yeah.
And we came back to Mesa for the last race, right? And it was the Kevin Harvick 125 or something. It was on a Thursday night, if you guys remember that.
Yep.
And it was because Kevin was racing Sonoma that weekend. And we'd gotten a lot better in those days. We weren't reading the auto shop manual, 32 pounds all the way around. And we were doing pretty good. We'd won a couple championships at Irwindale. And we came up to Mesa that night to race with Kevin. And it was a weeknight, so they didn't qualify. So they started by points. Well, it was my first race there that year, and Kevin, obviously, it was his first race. So we started in the back row, and we took off, the green flag. There was, 30 cars or something like that. And on lap 1, as they typically is in those big shows, big pile up going into
coming up the hill.
turn 1, right? So Kevin and I just boom, and we just plow off each other, rip the right side door off his car, the left front suspension off mine. We both come into the pits. They tape my car all back together. They put a shock on the front of his. His car was beat up. He had no nose, no grill, or no front end on it, nothing. Radiator hanging out there. So we go back out. We start dead last on this thing, and we start picking off cars. And it was almost like we were at Daytona when they had the 2-car tandem racing, because I had a bumper.
Like the IROC series
It was
you're talking
like
about?
that,
Yeah.
because I had a bumper and Kevin didn't have a front bumper. And we drove that thing, and we ran all the way up to 3rd. And Kevin followed me through because we just knock him out of the way, keep moving, digging. We got all the way up to 3rd, and I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. I'm ahead of Kevin Harvick. Well, that
He just needed your bumper.
exactly. He was only using my front bumper to get past the squirrels in the back. Once we got to the front where the cars were really fast, that was the end. See you later, man. He won the race. We finished, 3rd or 4th. It was a legendary night, right?
Absolutely.
And at the end of the night, my right door was accordion so flat. My son Trevor, now who is the winningest driver at Irwindale Speedway,
Oh, wow.
was probably, I'm guessing he was 12 or 13 at the time. Took the door, flattened it out into a flat door again. Took it over. Kevin signed that door, and it's hanging to this day, it's still hanging in our one of our game rooms at the house.
That is awesome. What a great story. That's so cool. That's an iconic raceway.
Right?
My first time, I can't believe all the racetracks I've been to, especially when I lived in North Carolina. I went to Sonoma for my first time in 20.
Right.
And we went out there and we drove golf carts around the whole racetrack at nighttime. It was so much fun. And I couldn't believe when you go up 1 and 2, I'm like, dude, you're going straight uphill. It doesn't look like it on TV. TV does that place no justice.
Unbelievable. The transitions, the
Yes,
inclines.
and then you come down, it's
crazy.
like, I mean.
And you got to turn right sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
It's not
and we
just
don't like
turn
to do
left.
that, do we, Tim?
No,
it's
way,
all
man.
left, baby.
It's making left turns.
At least
Keeps
for
it
racing.
simple, right? We run around in circles.
Right, absolutely. That's fantastic.
Cool stuff.
How did you transition? So from having this race career, how did you transition to being a track owner? So you own Irwindale, as we mentioned earlier, and now Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. How did that transition occur?
It was a pretty long, slow process. We, back in I think 2004, we'd started doing good enough, and my automotive business, we have a chemical automotive company, was doing good enough that we could actually afford to build a car without selling our old one. Right? In the old days, you wanted a new car, you had to sell your old one, take some money, scrap it. So I was doing okay enough to have a second car, and his kid comes along. He's like, "Hey, can I drive your second car?" And I'm like, "No, what are you talking about? No, that's not
Absolutely not.
crazy, not a chance."
Right.
He's like, "Well, I'll pay." I said, "How much?" Right?
The narrative switched
That's
immediately,
it.
right.
And then, so that was 2004, and the whole driver development thing started. And we started developing drivers, and I had kids, Dylan Lupton and Jones kids, the Parnelli Jones's grandkids raced for me, and all these. And then along came this kid named Cole Custer, 12 years old, started driving for me, right? So we kind of did that, and we started getting, 2, 4, 6. I had 8 cars one night at Irwindale Speedway, and a friend of mine reached out from Northern California, Bill McAnally, a great racer and a race team owner, and we ended up renting Irwindale like in 2012, and we hosted a monster truck and an ARCA race. I was like, wow, this is kind of pretty
That's
cool.
cool.
We were in the promoting business, right? So then we did that 2, 3, 4 more times. I actually did it 2 or 3 times with the Collins family, right? Larry Collins and I rented that place out and hosted a monster truck and an SRL race. And in 2017, Christmas Eve, we actually signed over the lease to take over Irwindale
That's
Speedway.
amazing.
And
That had to be a big step too, because I mean, you talk about now you're PG and things that people don't understand when, they want a personal guarantee, and now you're really like
Insurance.
We're pot committed, right?
Yes.
We're pot committed now, and especially now at the Raceway. Now you guys got Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. I mean, you're all in. I know.
Oh, yeah.
And your personality, man, you were built for this.
Well,
And there's
for
nobody more. I mean, the energy you got. I think I have energy until I watch it. And I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed.
That's it.
But you keep the crowd going. It's just so much fun, and it's something that's just necessary.
Yeah.
For Bakersfield, personally, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people are going to find that, especially when you talk about the concerts, the aspirations to continue to grow. We've talked about some stuff offline. I think people will start to see here in the near future, which is really, really neat.
I would say the next 6 months of announcements going to be pretty big for that little
That's going to be
racetrack.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned earlier, how many events was the track doing? Like last year, I think there was 6 or 7 events.
Yep. Yeah.
And so you have how many events planned for 2024?
So 2024, we have 18. So we almost tripled or doubled the amount of events that they had there. In 25, we'll be at 40.
Wow.
And then, our goal at Irwindale last year, I had 118 events. We did some sort of a motorsport event every 3 days.
So that's going to be the goal out here.
that is busy.
Duplicate that same
Yep.
business model. I love that.
We'll have weeknight motorsports events up there.
Oh, that'd be fun.
We'll be doing everything. If it has a motor and an engine,
We're racing it,
we're
baby.
doing it.
I love it.
Long time ago, somebody told me 2 objects in motion constitutes a race. So we're there, man. We're gonna get it. When they had the first race,
that's
right?
funny.
When an absolute first race happened, the day they built the second car.
Right.
That's when they built the first race.
that
you
is-
know what I'm
that's
saying?
that could be a t-shirt,
There
man.
you
You're
go.
onto something, Tim.
So
God.
that's us, man. We got stuff. We're going to be racing everything.
That is so. I got to remember
Yeah.
that. Plagiarism.
That's it.
So what are some
Pedro.
of the events that you have coming up that you're most excited about out there that you guys have planned for this year? And then also maybe some of the things you got coming in the future?
Yeah, well, I'm super excited. August 3rd is our Night of Destruction. We had one here back in May, and it was epic. I mean, when I looked up, and my announcer that is up in the booth, because I'm down on the racetrack, right? He tells me, hey, look at the backstretch. The freeway's backed up. And I was like, are you kidding me? He says, we need to stall because we've got the freeway backed up and we can't get them in the front gate fast enough. I thought, wow, Bakersfield, this is it, you know?
Yeah.
So that was great. So on August 3rd, we're going to do that again. We got a Tomahawk jet engine strapped to the back of a dually, and we're going to vaporize a Ford Explorer in about 60 seconds. That'll be cool. I've got my buddy, the Master of Mayhem, is going to come out in his Mayhem machine, and we're going to destroy a mobile home or something like that or two. But excited for that. Really excited for that.
That thing is wild looking, too.
It is pretty crazy,
that is
right?
wild looking. Like Mad Max wild.
We bought that thing from the studio business. A friend of mine has a studio rental for fire trucks, and his buddy had just finished the TV show SWAT. So if you actually go watch the TV show SWAT, they built that thing, and it was a bit of a prop. So we bought it, and we made it real. We fortified it and made it do what it's doing today. And that's a truly cool prize thing
it's
that
awesome.
we own.
That thing is so cool.
Doesn't matter what it is, it'll tear it apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we call it the Mayhem Machine.
Love it.
But so that's pretty cool. And then towards the end of the year, always a famous event that I can remember as a kid on my counter, the October Classic at Mesa Marine.
Epic.
Right? That was epic.
Epic.
So we're going to have that here in October. Pretty excited about that. Super Lates, Pro Lates, ARCA cars coming back. That's going to be insane. And we've taken a whole next level to that. We're going to run NARC winged 410 sprint cars on Friday night at the dirt track. And then Saturday, we'll be running so we're talking about the old Copper World Classic days, right? Where you're running open wheel cars and stock cars. So that's going to be some pretty cool stuff.
That's a full-filled weekend right
It's
there,
gonna be
my
a
friend.
busy-
That's a lot of racing, a lot of fun,
It's
a lot of
gonna be
laughing,
legendary.
a lot of bubblegum getting back.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not even just for Bakersfield because it's just right on the 5. Like, I mean, people can pull,
Absolutely.
up north, you get on the 5, pop in, come watch a good race, especially when you have these like the October Classic.
Yep.
I mean, it's easy to get here. And
Well, it's in such a prime location. I mean, you
it's
get
a prime
everybody
location.
from Madera County, Fresno, Tulare, LA, Santa Clarita. I mean, these are the people that need to show up and actually watch what it's like, how we grew up racing, that short track racing. It's almost a lost art anymore.
It is.
And it's the funnest, and it's real racing. It's the funnest racing.
Yeah.
You can tell who the guys that can drive are on a short track.
Hard nosed grinding, and you tell them, look, you fight in the pits, you'll go to jail. But you do it on a front straightaway, and we're pay
good.
you, right? Yeah, we're good. That's what made racing good, right there, man.
Absolutely.
You need rivalries. You
I
gotta
love
create
it with the Allisons and Yarbroughs.
Well, that's
and
why when we see the Cup Series, I always get to like Bristol. We're always like, oh man, it's gonna be good. Oh, they would love these. We love these races because it makes a big
I
difference.
mean, Kev's had his fair share of
Just a few.
altercations, just a couple.
They make the highlight reel, I'm telling you.
Well, I'll tell you what, people quit touching you if you actually bow up.
That's right.
You know?
So what's it like having Kevin as a partner in the track? Like, I mean, you mentioned earlier you guys are, completely partners and talk on a regular basis and go through that. But I mean, we know Kevin watching him race and that kind of thing. You know him as a friend and now a partner in business. So what's that like?
You know what? It's so cool to deal with Kevin right now. He's in a time in his life where, he's all wrapped up with the Fox deal, spending so much time on TV and doing all that. I think that this happened for us too at the exact right time. You know what I mean?
Perfect storm.
He was stepping out of a race car. I know he's got a lot of, mindset on what's going on with Fox, but the amount of energy and effort that he's putting into this racetrack is unbelievable to me, truly, that he's given us that much time. Back in January, he's like, hey, book this date. I'm going to fly out there on Wednesday. Okay. It was like a month or so away. All right, what do you need? He goes, nothing. Just going to fly out there and we're going to hang out. Like, okay. So, I mean, literally flew out. Josh, his manager, dropped him off. He said, he's all yours, dude. I'll see you later.
Josh was probably happy. Give me a break, man.
And we had so much. We sat in a suite for like 6.5 hours. And we had no agenda. We had no purpose. We literally just, hey, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And what if we do this? And we created all these ideas, right?
Probably time of reflection too, right?
It was
just...
We walked the property. We literally walked, okay, well, this, and I'm telling you, we made some dreams that will be the top floor penthouse kind of stuff if we can pull this off. And it all starts with a dream, right?
Absolutely.
Walt Disney said it all started with a mouse. And for us, it all started with a race car. For Kevin and for myself and for his family, we stood on the top of that thing. We were up on the top story, just looking out over it. At the end of the night, it was kind of a sunset. It was beautiful. And we looked at it and we talked about what would be cool. And he looked at me and I looked at him and I said, you know what would be cool? For this to be Trevor, Tanner, Haley, my daughter, and Keelan and Piper's problem someday.
Absolutely.
That's what we
That's
want.
how you leave a legacy.
We want this to be
Absolutely.
their problem someday.
Yeah. Right.
And that's cool, right?
Absolutely. That's what
said.
you want
Like,
for all your kids.
Yes.
Not their problem, their passion.
And that's what I mean is this is going to be theirs to take
Right.
over.
Well,
You
here's
know
the deal.
what
I
I mean?
guarantee it. Just knowing
chills
yourself for as
right
long as I
now.
know, that's awesome. And that's where you know the passion's at, right?
Yep.
If you don't get goosebumps, something's wrong with you, bro.
You're not in it.
Right. Something's wrong with you. But the reality is knowing your enthusiasm and just the energy you got. That for one, I mean, you can really tell, and the people, they're going to come. I'm just telling you, this thing is going to continue to grow. And definitely here at Library Sessions, we're going to try our best to get this out to our followers to make sure that they are following Kevin Harvick's, Kern Raceway, to make sure that they can gravitate towards your ideas, your guys' dreams of what you envision from,
appreciate it.
like you said, going back to your shop teacher. This guy's like my new hero today. Made my whole day, right?
That's a cool,
But
cool story.
it goes back to those ideals and one guy risking his neck on the line for a bunch of kids that just had a dream, had a passion to go racing. And then for him, I'm sure that had to be one of the greatest days of your life.
Yep.
That gentleman to be in the audience in Irwindale to see what you're doing and going, man, he feels like he got some skin in the game, right? In this thing, which is great. And I think with the track now being, back in Bakersfield, with yourself and Kevin Onen, I think you're going to see the town really rally behind that. And Bakersfield's only growing.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's exploding here. And I don't think people understand how many people are moving to Bakersfield, which is great for the community. It's great for definitely the Raceway. It's great for every industrial, company that's located here. And hopefully more companies can get involved. And so, Tim, I would like to know, how can these companies that want to come out, sponsor maybe possibly a race? How do they reach out to you? How can they touch base with you?
You bet. Absolutely. First off, every social media that's out there, right? At Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway and kernraceway.com, our website. But, Tim at Kern Raceway is the easiest way to get a hold of me. We're not 9 to 5. We're 5 to 9 and then some.
Right.
This is what we do 7 days a week. We love it. And, we really plan on doing some amazing stuff there. And how do we keep taking it to the next level, getting bigger races, getting on a national scene?
Right.
I think that can happen here in Bakersfield.
I think if there's one person that can do it, it's definitely you. And yourself and Kevin, I think,
Yeah.
are the right prime people to bring that kind of style of racing and that ambition back to California.
Yep.
And
Having Kevin on board, I can tell you, I mean, myself included, there's a huge fan base, Kevin Harvick fans in this town.
you bet.
Huge fan. His hometown, you bet.
It's going to be cool. And for us, like you said about companies, right? What, some people use golf, right?
Absolutely.
A lot
Everybody's
of
got a
business.
vice.
But there's a lot of business done on the golf course,
Absolutely.
right?
That's why they built them.
Let me tell you, I do a lot of business at the racetrack.
Absolutely.
And I know that a company can come to the racetrack, right? A company like both of your companies, right? And we do stuff at the racetrack, and you bring your clients or your customers or your sales guys, right? And you get them away from the daily grind, and you share some time at a racetrack. It's legendary. And the stuff that we do that I love to be part of, and I think that's kind of why it's so important and fun for me to be the on-track MC and kind of the ringmaster, I guess you might call it, to kind of control the tempo. I've got these two amazing kids, Tommy and Jeffrey, that are in the booth. They kind of anchor it. They're the ones that are the true professionals. I'm the idiot in the middle just screaming on the microphone. But I can reach out and grab and
Everybody.
touch one at a time, right?
Absolutely.
I'm done with a victory lane interview, and I could, hey, where's my buddy up there? And sweet, and I get a little story or a little tip, and you literally take the crowd of 5,000 people, and you feel like you're just there hanging out with a few friends. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what the atmosphere that we're created. I was shocked at how fast we got that. I almost felt it the first night, but by the second, third, and now fourth event we've had there, it's unbelievable. We've got people now that I could see that same guy was in that seat the last time.
Right.
I remember him.
And that's the one thing about racetracks.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, you always went to the same section.
Yes.
You almost felt like that's my section. So you had to get there early.
Yep.
Yeah.
because you wanted to make sure I sat in the
Yep.
same seat I sat in the week before or the month prior. That's your seat. You take pride in that seat. And that's one thing I always loved about that, just sitting in the seats, and you'd see somebody in your seat and be like, oh,
Hey,
we got to get here 30 minutes early next time.
Yeah.
And you don't forget that guy that sat in your seat.
that's right.
Yeah. It's just a fantastic story, I think, what you and Kevin have accomplished so far. And I guarantee it, just knowing your guys' work ethic. This is going to turn into something a lot cooler. And I know there's so much more you want to talk about.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, we're
awesome.
definitely gonna come back to that here probably at a later date.
You bet.
Have you and Kevin on?
Absolutely. Well, when we talk about some of those big announcements coming in the next 6 months, we'll have to, get your listeners first in on those. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
No,
As
and
soon
we'll
as-
do that. And the main
Yeah.
thing, I think, the thing that we're trying to get out here on library sessions, we want people to understand, there's knowledge out there. For instance, I learned knowledge today.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest shop teacher in the world just so happened to be
Right.
yours.
That's
I
right.
feel like my shop teacher was, I want to slap him now. And the man's still alive and I love him.
Right.
But we built his 57 Chevy for him.
Correct. In the auto shop.
And then he's cruising around. I'm like, we don't get any credit for this. Oh yeah, we all got A's. We got $60,000 truck that we rebuilt. Was it any
Yep.
good? I doubt it. But
pretty
nevertheless,
cool.
it was still great, right? So that you want to learn here, and we're so glad to have you on the show, Joe. I mean, what would you like to say in closing?
I think, like you mentioned about the knowledge part, something that everybody should think about, just that came to me when you talk about the shop teacher, is that don't forget you could be that same guy. You could be the one helping a kid, changing a kid's life forever just by helping them through something or teaching them something or doing something cool like that. I guess the other thing I want to say is very excited. We've talked about a lot of things before the show here, and we've talked about a lot on the show. I'm excited what you guys are doing out there. That's going to be really cool, and doubling the events and tripling. And now next year, sky's the limit, right?
Yep.
I mean, you mentioned even having some country concerts and different things, coming up. Bakersfield needs that.
Absolutely.
And that's such a great place out there. You hit it on the nail when you said Charlie
You can
Beard.
pack them in, brother.
Charlie Beard built that place out there, and my gosh, it is I mean, if you haven't been out there, you got to go. You got to see this place. It's a beautiful track, beautiful setup.
State-of-the-art
that they've got going on.
racetrack.
Yeah, they've done a great job. It's kind of a hidden gem that a lot of folks haven't taken advantage of yet, but I think with all the new attractions and draws, getting some other events going on out there, like concerts, like, are you guys going to do monster trucks at all?
Absolutely. You bet.
So getting a monster truck show, maybe somebody hadn't been there. They get out there like, whoa.
What's going on
I
here?
didn't realize this was actually this cool.
Yeah.
Because when you go there and you see it, it's cool. And you got suites and all those kind of I mean, there's a lot of things going on out there that people don't know. And
There's a lot of moving parts. I think what
Yeah.
Tim said it earlier that I'll kind of pre-reference back to is, there's no time off.
None.
Because listen, you're out there the whole day working and your brain's going 100 miles an hour, at least mine does. And then next thing you know, you're sitting in bed and you're like, oh God, I got an idea. I got to get up and I got to write this down. I tell my wife all the time, I wish I would just fall asleep with a recorder in my hand. 'Cause I'll just wake up, think of something, and I'm like, I got to grab my pen and paper. I got to write this down. I guarantee that's how you are. Because your brain's never shutting off. Because
Never.
what I've seen, what you've done already, I'm like, oh my God, who would have thought of that? The mayhem guy. I'm like, I was like, I thought we were being invaded.
The Crown
dude.
Vics. The
Yeah.
Crown
Crown-
Vic series. What's it called? What's the Crown Vic
Yeah,
series called?
so it's the Crown Vic series, exactly it. For $5,000, you can be racing a car that looks cool. Sticker it all up, paint it,
Yep.
come out with your buddies. So much fun. We hope to get the 30, 40 of those things out in the track.
That
We're
would
up
be
to
so cool.
a dozen now, and I think it's going to be huge.
I loved when they did that before, because that's an amateur racing thing, right? It could
It
be
is.
anybody, right?
Anybody.
Yeah,
Yep.
anybody can race, sign a waiver, come out and drive a car. And I remember, back when Mesa Marin was doing, at the very end of Mesa Marin, they did that 4-cylinder series where you could take anything. It had to qualify, like I think just had to be a 4-cylinder. And you'd get everything. You get the little 4-cylinder Mustangs, you get 4-cylinder, Toyotas, or I think it had to be a U.S. manufactured car or something like that. You got to put a roll cage in it and have to have a helmet and all that kind of stuff. But then just amateurs go out and race those
I
things.
think it's evolved so much. So I think what Tim and Kevin are doing right now is going to supersede anything we saw growing
By
up.
far. By far.
Big league. They're going to big league this thing.
Yep.
Just because they both have the experience, they're both business minded, they love racing. And you don't get that at every racetrack. A lot of these guys on these racetracks, literally across the country, they don't race. They've never raced.
Right.
where you've got an ex-racer, a businessman, an ex-racer, a businessman. They're going to walk in there and go, we know what people like because they've sat in that seat.
That's right.
And
they know
experience
what
in
it feels like.
promoting and
Absolutely.
running the shows. And like you just said, you go around and you're the guy. You're meeting everybody, seeing all your friends and being a part of that. And you have a passion for it, which if you don't have that, then you couldn't do that.
Unbelievable, right? I mean, some of the stuff that we do out there, my wife started this, Lisa started this deal a couple years ago at Irwindale. It's called the Gummy Bear Dance, right? And it's unbelievable, right? We do this thing and we've got this goofy music. It's kind of like Baby Shark, right?
Right.
I'm a gummy bear.
Oh, yeah.
And we go to Costco. I'm sure they just don't understand at Costco why we buy all these gummy bears. And we start playing.
Are you sure you're in racing is what they're thinking.
Yeah, not those gummy bears. But we play this goofy song and grown men are standing there dancing this I'm a gummy bear for a pack of gummy bears. Right?
That's awesome.
And my
so
wife's
funny.
in the grandstands throwing them with people and having fun and doing giveaways. And, it's crazy, right? It's
I think once you're a dad anyhow, too, listen, you're no longer cool anyhow. So if I'm going to embarrass my kids,
That's right.
I'm dancing, baby,
I'm
in
doing
front
it
of
for
them.
Gummy Bear.
That's a fact.
Yeah. And it's, that's the fun, high energy, always doing something environment that we want there. We want it to just be crazy. You never know what's going to happen next, right? I'm going to try to find a guy who can shoot out of a cannon if I can,
I'm
That's
out.
so
I'm
awesome.
out.
For that reason, I'm out. Yeah.
But I will tell you, Tim, thank you so much for coming on Library Sessions. As always, JG, CB here, Tim Huddleston, Kevin Harvick, Kern Raceway, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. You guys have a great Friday.